Oh, he used to go gambling and do cocaine and drink and blow his paycheck, come home and be like, empty pockets to my mom, and then, they would go off. So, yeah, he was not a responsible person.
Welcome everyone to another episode on Coffee with Kuda. I am excited to have Nick back for our second interview. He's driven to help raising awareness of people in addiction. Nick, how are you today?
I'm doing great, and thank you very much for inviting me again.
Yeah, man, really good to see you. Under different circumstances, different new place,
Yeah.
different building.
Much nicer.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you for the second time, and I think, as I've said, we can have you here 10 times if needed, but your story and your passion is very important to what we are doing.
Well, I would love to come back again.
Yeah, I mean, last time we spoke about the teacher putting a seatbelt on you.
Yeah.
To say,
I hope
do you function or do you not function with this seatbelt, right?
Yeah.
It was ADD or ADHD you heard?
I think that was like kind of still on the area of a lot of that stuff was just being learned and talked about in schools.
Right.
That's like when they were pushing Prozac on kids.
Right.
Thankfully, I had my mom to say F no to that one.
Right. Hey, you've been through different things, of course. I know when your parents separated, you had your first drink experience to substance use. You learned, though, about helping people through a quote in a book.
Yeah.
That was quite interesting. And your own experience with that lady, to me, to this day, is quite fascinating. How do you still use that in your today's path?
I'd have to say that whenever an opportunity arises that you can help somebody, just do it.
Yeah.
Most interactions take like a couple minutes.
Really. Yeah.
So anywhere to that, we're, into the work environment where, you have 4 to 6 weeks to help somebody. But I think the world would be a better place if you just held doors open for people more often.
Right. I think another area that I felt like I didn't understand very well until we started doing this was that link between people in gangs and their own trauma, as well as their likelihood to fall into addiction. Maybe most people don't quite understand. They just think gangsters, they're too cool, nothing will really impact them. But the truth is, even those guys in the gangs, they've so many challenges that they've gone through. They didn't choose this path because it was a career path. But, trauma, being hurt by other people, leading to them losing emotions, maybe, perhaps. But then also being in those gangs, you're now surrounded by substances. Now you end up using. So I think there's that kind of discussion that I found to be so important last time we spoke. So thank you so much for bringing that up.
Thank you.
Today, I wanted to touch on a few other things that we didn't touch on last time. And I think we should just start first on, you explained to me that before your dad left, your family was doing quite okay.
Financially, we were doing well.
Financially, right?
Emotionally, the marriage was not working.
Really?
There was lots of fighting going on, and sometimes it went from behind closed doors to, our brother and I witnessing it, like right in front of us.
Wow.
A lot of people, I think, didn't reach out to counseling and mental health services and couples counseling back then. It was like, didn't talk about that. That stayed inside. Where today it's a lot different. Like I see a counselor I do some classes as well as I just started doing some couples therapy.
Right.
So, yeah,
Your
but
parents didn't have that.
it was rough back then. Even if we had the stability of having, you know, a fair amount of money coming into the household, it didn't make things easier. Once you took one of those revenue sources out of the house, like when they split, that's when things became even more difficult.
It took me about a child experiencing parents fighting, how that impacts your own mental health.
I think for myself, it was like, you know, did I do something wrong, or, you know, if I was better, would this be different? I think a lot of kids internalize that, even just from reading about childhood traumas that they've done studies, and that's usually how kids react to that situation. So a lot of that time, I think I've suppressed. There is a lot of moments I do remember, but yeah, it was really hard. A lot of the time I would either just leave the house or go to my room, just to try to, you know, escape it. The only way I knew how was to make distance between me and the fight, right? So.
But I think fortunately the violence never stretched to the children.
No, well, we got spanked and stuff when we were kids, but I never was like punched or beaten or abused. No.
And your dad was working, your mom was working. The income was sufficient. Your mom was a nurse,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Your dad was?
He was managing a meat department for Safeway back when it was union, so it was a good paying gig.
It was a good paying gig, yeah. Then your mom, while she's working the job as a nurse, she went to the food industry.
Yeah, she did that. She went from nursing in a hospital to private practice nursing, and then just seeing so much death, especially about people she cared about. She got into cooking. She was an amazing cook. She cooked, obviously, for my son and I, or not my son, my brother and I, our entire childhood. And I remember, you know, the smells of her baking bread, and she was just amazing at it. She loved it, so it made sense. She was good at it. You know, not too many people dying in restaurants. So it was pleasurable for her, but the money you make in restaurants, if anyone's worked in a restaurant, knows that it's a labor of love, right?
Yeah. So you told me that you started to experience now the hardships of this single income, right? And one of those, or some of those challenges meant that you're moving from one place to another.
Yes, yeah.
Moving from one school to another.
Yes.
I think you described the pain of, not necessarily pain, but the struggle of just new school every time, how that impacts a child.
Yeah, first day of school for anyone going from elementary school to high school, let's say. You know, they're having to take stock of what's going on around them, like where the bullies are, you know, where I can go and not go, to not have to worry about being picked on, who's safe, who's not safe. And then there's like, you know, moving past that, what teachers can you even deal with? Like there's, I don't know, from your childhood and going to school, there's always a couple asshole teachers. And that was things that I struggled with as well, because I didn't just deal with it once and then learn how to cope with that. I would learn up to a point, and then I would move and have to do the whole freaking thing over again. So it was hard to make, you know, friends, lifelong friends from being a kid. I don't have any.
Wow.
Yeah, so not that a lot of people stay in touch, but, you know, I think that because of the moving around, that it definitely affected me consciously, subconsciously, made me probably more closed off, because I didn't want to share it. What's the point? I'm not going to be here longer, right? You know, it made me not want to engage in class because why does it matter? I'm going to another school in 6 months, you know? So it affected my grades. It affected me making friends, which caused me to isolate more, which, you know, probably made alcohol and drugs, that escape it gives you, more desirable.
Again, this is about trying to protect the child from things that parents they've control over.
I think in a lot of ways, my dad probably enjoyed his life more before he had kids. Having kids is a huge responsibility.
Right.
Being there for them, making their well-being more important than your own. Living in a world with a lot of selfish people, it's hard to get that, I think.
Before your mom used, from your own understanding, is there a history of addiction in your family outside your mom that you know of?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Tell me a bit about that.
If you could see a picture of my father's and mother's family tree, every branch coming out from it, there would be addiction of some sort. You know, up here, gambling, alcohol, and as I got closer and the time went closer to my birth, obviously drugs came into the picture.
Okay.
So the family in that time period, battling with addiction, would have picked up whatever, you know.
Right.
So I'd have to say in one form or another, as far back as you can see, my family lines have probably struggled with it. Because I can see that in my family today, like my brother, even members of my extended family on both sides.
Right.
You know, like
right.
my grandfather on my mom's side crashed his car when he was drunk.
Wow.
He was a business owner, a really well-known person in Vancouver. And on my dad's side, his father was also a very mean alcoholic.
Really?
So it's just like you learn from this, and then the child knows that, so that's what they do. And then the kids see that and they mimic, right? So it's like it takes something huge to kind of put a chink in that and to change what happens. And unfortunately, that's usually severe trauma. Like, I'm not going to be like my father because he did this to me. I'm not going to continue doing what killed my mother. You know what I mean? No. So it takes a lot to get to a person to the point where they choose to be a better person.
I guess,
and I'm still working on it.
Right, right. And I guess your father maybe never had the actual tools.
No,
because
he didn't.
The person who raised him
Exactly.
didn't have the adequate tools to raise him.
He did the best he could with the tools he had.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And what addiction, if you know, that your dad had?
Oh, he used to go gambling and do cocaine and drink and blow his paycheck, come home and be like empty pockets to my mom, and then, you know, they would go off. So yeah, he was not a responsible person. My dad's father was a mean drunk. He probably came home and, you know, abused his family.
Right, okay.
So, you know, my dad as a kid being hit and hurt mentally, physically, you know, sees his dad getting away with this sort of behavior. So maybe in his mind he thinks this is what a man is supposed to be. Wow. You know, imprinting into him, this is what I should be like when I am a dad.
Right.
You know, who knows subconsciously how much that it can affect a woman or a man in childhood.
It can kind of paint that picture, right? Like, now if you have your own children, for example, like, oh man, these are the things that are going to protect them from, because you yourself have better awareness than your dad. Your dad did better awareness than his dad, kind of thing, like, right? So,
yeah. Well, my dad never beat me. So.
Right, exactly. So he is better than his dad. So you can tell it's getting better. But fortunately, that where you are right now, you've got a lot of tools that are supporting you. So we then spoke about substance use became a major problem to stop you from graduating high school?
Yeah, it was, I just didn't want to go anymore. Like, I don't can count, it was like my fourth or fifth high school. And I was just tired. You know, it was easier to not deal with it, just to not show up. It took me wanting to do something better for myself to finally get that. But it wasn't going to traditional school that got me there. It was me wanting something different. School sucks for a lot of people. Unfortunately, the school system is probably in dire need of an overhaul, like most government-run programs.
I want to touch on that a little bit when you say school sucks for a lot of people. I say that because I believe it, but I try to think what kind of methods or what kind of extra support could be put into schools.
Oh, tons.
Yeah?
Yeah, you could teach kids, like, you know, proper self-care. You could teach them that talking about your issues is powerful. You could teach them life skills that are, you know, pertinent in life today.
Yeah.
You know, being able to sew a pair of boxer shorts probably isn't super important in the world we live today because we're not making our clothes.
Right.
And having teachers be able to learn and learn to teach in a way that engages their students, which makes a subject come alive, is super important. Like, I had teachers who were fun to learn from, and I did really well. And then there was teachers that, like, just plodded through their day, you know, like dragging their feet and just, maybe they weren't happy in life, so they just didn't care. And that affected me in those classes greatly. I failed them all. So, you know, I don't want to learn from someone that doesn't enjoy something. And then I don't enjoy it.
And I support that notion even further about teaching kids to speak more about their problems because like we work with children from low-income families, from refugee families, and sometimes when they come to our youth group, you kind of have to look deeper and see, like, is everything okay, kind of thing, like.
Yeah, give them a safe space.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. In a way, I guess in short, can we say it's safer to start talking about mental health from maybe tail end of elementary school?
I think it's a good thing to talk about mental health. I would say grade 4, grade 5. You know, have kids' books that are like, you know, Danny doesn't feel good inside. Be like, why does Danny not feel good? Because Danny hears arguments in the house. You know, what does Danny do to make himself feel better? You know, like, go at it right from childhood. And then, like, basically kids are born in these, like, perfect little beings, and then all the information we feed in them make them into the people that they're programmed to be in society.
Right.
So if we help to filter the information that they sponge up and make it positive stuff that's, you know, body healthy and mind healthy, spirit healthy, there's nothing bad that could happen from that.
Wow.
Zero.
I'm sitting here thinking, like, we learn math from as early as possible with the reason that you always use it in the rest of your life.
You hardly ever use it compared to mental health.
Compared to mental health.
Yeah.
Now, if you prioritized mental health as much as you do math, oh, man, that's powerful. That's a good point.
Yeah, in a world full of smartphones and calculators and watches, like.
True.
We got to start talking about the stuff that we don't talk enough about. And that's about all the stuff we like to sweep under the rug.
Wow. I think areas that I wanted to focus on now as we continue moving is when we speak addiction in your life, the two main substances I believe you were talking about was heroin and cocaine.
For the hard drugs, yes.
For the hard drugs. Are you also telling me that maybe alcohol was part of that?
Oh, yeah, I drank a lot.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah. But not when I was obviously driving.
Of course.
But when I had time off or I just wanted to just feel the effects of alcohol, I suppose.
Really,
Yeah, I enjoyed being drunk.
what kind of work did you do again?
Back then,
Yeah.
I did a lot of mechanic when I was younger.
Okay.
So I fixed a lot of bikes and stuff, and then did some kitchen stuff, and then got into selling dope.
Selling dope,
Did
right?
that
Yeah.
for a long period of time, and that brought me to a really dark place. And then I asked for help and started doing things that were important for me as a human being.
I want to know about withdrawals, or the struggle of coming off substances, period. The difference, first of all, let's talk about cocaine, because that's the one that has least side effects. How hard was that to get off cocaine?
Powdered cocaine, if you're snorting it, usually the next day, because you're usually drinking a lot, you just have a massive hangover, headache. So you spend the next 24 hours sleeping, and then probably the next 24 after that eating Chinese food and watching Netflix.
Yeah.
The side effects of cocaine, crack cocaine, much more intense, because as soon as you finish inhaling it, exhaling it, you get super high for a very short amount of time, and then your body is like, that felt so amazing, let's do it again. So then you do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, and eventually you run out, and then your brain is like, goes into panic mode. I don't have any more crack cocaine. I want to feel like that again. So you know, you go out and you spend more money, buy more crack. If you run out of money, you know, who knows what you do. That's where you start doing the grind to do whatever you got to do. You know, either prostitution or crime or selling dope, whatever works, right? But if you know, smoke some heroin or take some opiates in pill form and go to sleep, you wake up the next day and you're okay. You know, that the jonesing is gone. Opiate use is much different.
To cocaine.
To cocaine for the after effects, because apparently when you smoke heroin, there's these parts of your brain that get depleted of this natural chemical occurring inside you. So when those are depleted, they're being filled back up with the opiate. So as they deplete, because you haven't used, now they're empty, and your body is screaming because it's like, what's going on here? So it obviously makes you want to use more of the drug, but the actual effects your body feel are hot, cold sweats, runny nose, uncontrollable sneezing, diarrhea, stomach cramps, restless legs, restless body, inability to sleep, inability to concentrate.
Wow.
Like all the extreme things. Yeah. So it's not fun, and it makes people do whatever they have to do to get that next hit, right? So.
What about, I don't know how addicted you were to alcohol, but have you ever faced severe alcohol withdrawals?
Oh, DTs? No. But I have, it was more like, I really want to drink tonight.
Right.
You know, so that compulsion. You drive by a liquor store and you're like, see out of the corner of your eye and you're like, eh. Or like driving past somewhere where you know you're going to go to a liquor store, or you know where every liquor store is in your hood. You know you're probably starting to have a problem. But for DTs, thankfully, I hadn't had to go through that. So.
No, I appreciate that. So that was just a talk about the side effects of the substances that you have used.
Yeah.
Right. So one of the many areas I wanted to touch on as well was experiencing homelessness as an addict. I think why I'm emphasizing as well that you're also using is, I'm sure it must come with challenges of trying to pick yourself up than a person who is homeless but is not using. Maybe they have the capability to look for a job and get out of there. Right? Tell me your experiences with homelessness.
So it got to the point where I wasn't able to support my my drug use, as well as do things like buy food and pay for rent.
Okay.
So I had to make a choice at that point, especially since I was going to be evicted soon for not paying my rent. So
So you were renting in an apartment.
yes, yeah,
Okay.
apartment or basement suite is usually one of the two.
Yeah.
And
this is
did
when
a
you
lot
were
of bouncing around.
this is when you were selling, but then you started using.
No, this is before I got into selling. This is where I became homeless. I was still lying to a lot of my friends. So like the people I knew that were in the game, the people I hung out with,
Yeah.
they didn't know what was going on. Like
Wow.
I hid it all, right? So they're like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I always managed to be able to hold a job, but it was getting harder and harder to balance stable housing in that factor. So I ended up going to the downtown east side to find making phone calls to shelters, and then it was like a lot of the ones on the downtown east side. So I'd go, show up, get a bed, and then once you had a bed, you were locked down on that. So if you got caught using, you were done. If you came back late, you lost your bed. So it was trying to juggle that with working and substance use, which was really hard. I don't know if anyone in the audience has ever spent any time in shelters. It's not the funnest thing in the world.
Right.
But I never saw shelters as a long-term way of solving any issue. It was just like stay there rent-free long enough for me to be able to make enough money to get a new place. But then you'd fall back into old behaviors.
How do you make money?
Usually construction.
Okay.
Yeah, at that point it was I'd get work through one of those job placement work today kind of places, and then I would go do a shift or two for one of the companies that hire out of these labor unlimited places, and
Yeah.
so I'd work with them, and then I would work well, so they would I would get the job, and I would just go back to the work site.
Right.
So I started off just helping a carpenter that made houses.
Wow.
They got paid really well, and I was able to get a new place.
Okay, so I'm wondering now as you speak, where is your mom and brother in this moment?
My brother, I have no idea. My mother living in an SRO on the downtown east side.
Wow. Okay, so by this time your mom had already started using herself. All right. Your path to addiction, was it parallel to your mom's?
Well, I think my mom smoked marijuana and drank, did mushrooms, LSD, all the stuff hippie kids did back in the day. I think that her cocaine and opiate use ramped up shortly after the split. Once she had to make ends meet for housing, food, working 2-3 jobs at a time is when the drinking and the hard drugs became more prevalent. So
Okay. So now you're in the shelters. Maybe tell me, for someone who's currently in a shelter, for example, how did you get out of the shelters? What was your path? What was your strategy?
just try to work, get as much money as possible, try to stay safe and not get robbed, try to use and not get caught, try to hold up this image of this is who I am with all my friends. Well, really, this is where I am, this is where I'm actually.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So being able to lie and say that I was doing okay when I was like literally in crisis mode every day became really easy for me.
So struggling to ask for help.
Big time.
Okay. I know I spoke to you previously about a person in a shelter trying to come out there, getting a proper job, finding employment, and progressing with their life. What is the likelihood? What are the chances?
From being in shelters and from working in shelters, 1 in 100.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Because I know we were speaking about that yesterday in regards to subsidized housing,
Yeah.
more housing being available than shelters perhaps. Because the advantage, of course, is when you're housed, you have an address.
Safety.
Safety, right.
Yeah, living on the street, playing the game. You either got to be in groups but yeah, you're always constantly in the fear of being robbed or being ripped off, being beaten, being raped. Like, at least if you have a door with a lock on it, as soon as you click that lock, you can breathe.
And progressing from that, how long did you stay in a shelter for a total of?
I think it was off and on a couple times, but literally it was like for the least amount of time possible. Because the anxiety it caused me, the constant worrying about, being robbed. Like literally I'd have my pillow there with like my wallet and phone like wrapped around my arm, like, just hoping to God someone doesn't try to rob me, because like who knows like what I got to do at that point.
Yeah.
Fight.
Yeah.
I've never been one that enjoys violence, but I've been forced into it multiple times to either protect myself or others. But yeah, it's a high anxiety space, and when you got to wake up at 5 a.m. to get to a job site, and you're trying to turn your brain off alert mode, is really hard, Yeah.
So I know we spoke about the journey in addiction itself previously, but I want to talk about your own wellness, because I know when your mother passed away, you told me that your use increased. Tell me actually a little bit, for everyone who's listening, the passing of your mom.
I found out over the phone from a family member when I was staying at a friend's house overnight, and I thought it was a joke at the beginning, like, ha ha ha, real funny, like, tell me what's actually going on. But there was like right in the pit of my stomach, in my chest, there was this dread, and it just expanded so quickly. And as soon as they said that, that they were so sorry that they had to tell me this, I lost it. Yeah, I had to do a lot of work around that.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for sharing that. Of which actually it does raise that awareness that if you do use, right, try not to use alone.
Yeah, there's apps. Lifeguard is a wicked app. I think it's, last time I saw, it was close to 40,000 uses, maybe 26, 27 ODs responded to, and 0 deaths. So it speaks for itself as OPS, overdose prevention sites are all the same, 0 deaths. So the fact that there's one in Surrey is ridiculous. The fact that because COVID has shrunk the numbers available to be able to go in there per time is ridiculous. Wow. They should be opening up emergency sites due to COVID. Like, I'm sure there's funding out there.
Yeah.
But sorry, I'm digressing here.
It's a
touchy subject. There's so much to talk about.
But a very important one.
Yeah.
Right. Because we cannot underestimate the number of people that are dying from overdoses.
It seems that whenever it starts to level out, something happens to the drug supply, and it just makes it ramp up again. It's like, I don't like to think in dark places, but it's almost like someone's out there trying to kill everybody.
Wow. You told me yourself about your own friends dying from overdoses.
It's not just overdoses. It's things related to substance use.
Yeah.
So let's say you drink your whole life,
Right.
and now you find recovery, you get clean, you help a bunch of people, and then your liver fails, and you're too old now because you're an older gentleman, and you might not be able to afford the aftercare because they're not going to just give you a liver.
Right.
You got to have the money to be able to pay for your aftercare after, which is probably about $80K. Like, who's got that sitting in their bank account?
Yeah.
So, I've lost a lot of people. The world has lost a lot of very important people that still had lots to do, still had so much to change. And now that they're gone, it sucks, man. And there's got to be something that we can do to save these people and to prevent their stories from ending sooner.
I think you told me that you actually had to make a conscious decision to stop going to funerals.
Yeah. I think I went to 7 in one year.
Wow.
And I wanted to be there to support, the family and to grieve. But I choose now to grieve away from the funeral. I grieve, by myself and with the people I choose to.
Yeah.
It's just too much. I got worn out of going to funerals.
I know you said you were digressing, but I think there's the importance of the need for those opiate sites, right? Yeah, because we're not in charge of the budgets, but if it was possible, it would be heavily useful.
Yeah.
Just because this time we are in right now, people are suffering, they're in pain, they're going through their own trauma by themselves, right? So give them a place to use.
Yeah. Not only just 3 years ago, dealing with trauma, using drugs, trying to find housing, trying not to get robbed or killed or raped, trying to be able to find food and water and be able to clean yourself, and have to deal with the public and the stigma. Then you throw COVID on top of that, and it turns their whole lives upside down. People who have homes, I can go to Safeway with a mask on, buy $200 worth of groceries and chill at home. Not a big deal. I can stockpile toilet paper like all the rest of the silly people. But people that don't have homes, where are they going to wash their hands? Where are they going to buy masks? How do they get hand sanitizer? How are you going to get someone who's homeless to isolate? And be when you're isolating and you're using alone,
right?
It creates so many issues. And the thing is, I think there are people talking about it and people thinking about ideas on how to make this safer and easier. There's tons of people on the downtown east side, this is what they do, and they're getting really good at it, protecting themselves. And we got it easy compared to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And we a lot of people just see them as disposable human beings. They just, it's something that's good. I'm glad that the dope is killing them, because you know what? Then they're less of a drain on the system. I'm sure you've heard stuff like this before.
Tell me, before we go real quickly, destigmatizing addiction, what does that mean to you?
I would love to do a massive campaign of just real posters and stuff. Not I know the ones they do today are important, but I want ones that are going to drive it home. Do a picture of 100 babies, all different shapes, sizes, colors, and then at the bottom right that that 40% of these are going to be addicted to substances or have mental health issues by the age of whatever. So then you can see this and be they're all the same. What changed? You know what I mean? There's plenty of stuff out there that people could do. I think we're past the point of just sugarcoating the issue. We need to push it out there, and we need to show them the grim reality of it. And we need to be people to sit back and go, wow, really?
Exactly.
This is crazy. And to want to be a part of active change in their communities.
Before we go, I'll ask her 2 questions. One of them is, did you ever experience psychosis while using substances?
Yeah, I think using a bunch and then, going to bed. There's different levels, I think, of psychosis.
Yeah.
A lot of people think psychosis, of people using meth and being on the street, like, jittering because they've lost control over their body because their mind can't talk to their body anymore. And then they see, oh, that's psychosis. But psychosis could be literally, I've been using all night and I'm trying to sleep and I can't sleep and I have to wake up to go to work in 3 hours and I'm staring at the ceiling saying, why is my life garbage? Why am I fucking my life up? And then the only thing I can do to get some sleep is just be like, you know what, it's okay. Tomorrow will be better. And then try to get some sleep. And then you're just lying to yourself, unfortunately. But I can't even count how many times. And then suicide starts kneeling its way into those thoughts.
Don't answer my question. Let me ask it first. Tell me about suicidal ideation.
Yeah, it was like, got to the point where it was on the daily. I was thinking about inventive, heroic ways to kill myself. Like, I just wanted it to be over and there's someone about to get hit by a car. I just push them out of the way and take it for them. Or whatever, or just, taking a bunch of pills and be over, jumping off a bridge. Would drowning be a good thing? Like, imagine it's not too painful. Freezing to death might be good, because I heard you feel warm and comfortable by the end of it, right before you go. Definitely don't want to get burnt. That would suck, Just rationally thinking about how you would do it.
It's sad reality. So to end this, I'm going to ask, this is more positive in that you are here because you were not successful with your suicidal thoughts or attempts. Tell me, what gave you the strength to keep going?
I think it was the third, it would have been the 4th time I burnt my life down to the ground and having to lose everything and build everything up. I didn't have another one of those in me. And that's the only other alternative I had, was either asking for help or finally giving in to the idolation.
Right.
So I chose help. Part of me thinks that I chose help because I was too much of a coward to kill myself. But I prefer to think that I chose asking for help because I truly wanted to change.
And it's amazing that all your life you never asked for help.
Never.
You never
I hated
asked
asking
your
for help.
help.
Yeah, I'm fine. I'm okay. Don't worry about me.
You never even went to mom to ask for help.
No, I was too busy trying to help her. I spent my whole life helping others, worried about other people, trying to make other people think I'm a good person. So then they don't have to worry about how I'm doing,
And the amazing thing is, the only thing that did save your life
Yeah.
was
Asking for help
asking for help.
and continuing to receive that help. And
Right.
knowing that you need to do anything you can and continue to do anything you can to stay in this place. You need to know that, you need to be in.
And that to make it even better, there's one person you asked for help that warms my heart.
Which is that?
The person that you had almost cut out of your life and said, I
Yeah.
don't want this
Yeah.
distraction in my life.
Well,
But who did you reach out to?
I reached out to my brother, the person that I had to love from a distance for a very long time.
Right.
I never stopped loving him, but I just couldn't have him in my life, and I knew that he did something called recovery, and I knew that he'd be a safe person to talk to.
So you reached out.
It created a relationship again that was severely lacking, family connection. Yeah.
Something I love about family connection, when done right, people get up
Yeah.
and they do They do success.
Yeah, I got to cook at my brother's wedding and be his best man.
You see,
None of that would have happened if I didn't ask for help.
I remember, I think you know Kaylee, she was
Yeah.
telling me that it was a family, man, that came together and said, what shall we do?
Yeah.
Right, and I know you spoke a lot about actually the love of your mom as well. So in a way, you always said she was the best, she was a better mom in addiction than some
Than most parents.
most parents.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's an unfortunate truth, but parents gotta stop worrying about what they want their kid to be and ask what the kid wants to be and support that. You know, he, she, they, them.
Yeah, of
Doesn't
course.
matter.
Yeah.
Happiness, love.
it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
But I wanted to end on that because your brother, you were asking for your brother. I know you said the following day he got you into treatment or recovery house.
Yeah, recovery house. Very next day after
Yeah.
asked for help, got me in.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's the first day I went up the stairs, and the manager and the director were there, and they're like, "What are you willing to do for your recovery?" And I was like, literally, I'm like, anything. And I kept that. You know, it was just like I needed it, and I was willing to do just as much for that dope as I was to get off of it. So.
I cannot wait for the next time that we chit chat.
Yeah, I'm excited.
These things are amazing.
Yeah, I
We'll
appreciate it.
see you again, Nick.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming. Hey everyone, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. I do really appreciate it. If you can, please subscribe to our channel for more content. If you can, please join our Patreon team. The link is down below. And also you can join our GoFundMe. The link is also involved below. This will help us to bring awareness of addiction as well as destigmatize this illness. Your support is greatly appreciated and we'll create more content for you. Thank you so much.